Hello, everyone. My name is Mike Sisk. I'm a contributing editor at American Banker, and I will be moderating today's webinar. Before we get started, I would like to inform everyone that mics and cameras are disabled, so we cannot see or hear you. If you have a question, please use the Q&A button located at the bottom of the Zoom screen to submit your question. We will have time at the end of the presentation to answer any questions you may have. And lastly, this webinar is being recorded and we'll send it out afterward for rewatching. And with that, let's get started. So today's webinar is bringing together two of the leaders in residential real estate valuation, Clear Capital and Reggora, to demonstrate the efficiency and value provided by their newly released integration. For those who don't know Clear Capital is a national real estate valuation technology company driven by this purpose: to build confidence in real estate decisions, to strengthen communities and improve lives. Clear Capital's goal is to provide a complete understanding of every U.S. property through field valuation services, analytic tools, and platform technologies that streamline workflows for its customers. Clear Capital is committed to excellence wherever it leads, wherever it takes. The company was founded in 2001 and now has over 1,500 employees within its 4 brands: Clear Capital, REO Network, Cubicasa, and Clario. So, and also Reggora is a leading technology provider modernizing the appraisal process for lenders and appraisers and has been named a Housing Wire Tech 100 company 2 years running. Reggora is focused on transforming the appraisal process to unlock gains in speed, value, and efficiency, and improve the overall experience surrounding home valuation. Reggora works with lenders and appraisers across the country and has experienced exponential growth over the past 2 years as more and more lenders shift their focus towards improving their appraisal operations. So that's Clear Capital and Reggora. As I mentioned, I will be your moderator today. I'm a contributing editor at American Banker. My articles have also appeared in Barron's, Crane's Nerd Business, Inc., Institutional Investor, Strategy in Business and Worth. And just before we jump into the discussion, I wanted to just remind everyone and anyone that joined a little bit late that we will have some time at the end to take some questions from the audience. And if you have a question, please use that Q&A button located at the bottom of the Zoom screen to submit your question, and we will get to it in the time we've got here today. And now I am pleased to introduce our panelists today. Our first panelist is Dan English, a Director of Product Operations with Reggora. And Dan, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Dan English. I'm the Director of Product Operations at Reggora. I've been with Reggora for about 2 years now, and I'm located in the Boston area. Ashley?
And our other panelist, Ashley Bierwolf is Director of Product Management with Clear Capital. And also, Ashley, could you share a little background?
Yeah, hi, everybody. I am the Director of Product Management for our ClearCollateral review platform. I have had the pleasure of working with Clear Capital now for about 13 years on both field valuations and our technology platform. All things appraisal review and data and analytics. Exciting stuff.
Fantastic. And with that, those introductions, Dan, why don't you take it away?
Sure, sounds good. So first, kind of before we get into the live demo portion of this, both Ashley and I are going to go over a little bit of a big picture overview, sort of what each of our companies are and what they do. And then we'll show you a little bit about the integration. So first off here, I know looking at the guest list here, most people in the audience are familiar with Reggora, but for those that are not, Reggora is a two-sided appraisal management software company. So we sit in between the lender and the vendor, whether that's an AMC, whether that's an individual appraiser, or what we hope to see in the future with appraisal modernization, some other potential third party who's playing a role in this appraisal process. So we sort of bring all these parties together and help to provide both automation and an additional visibility into this, what we all know to be, unfortunately, a complicated, oftentimes complicated process and oftentimes complicated part of the home buying process. So Ashley, over to you.
Awesome. Yeah. So, Clear Capital does a lot of things: field valuations, data and analytics. We talked about some of that. Our ClearCollateral review platform is really purpose built to, as Dan said, sort of modernize, add automation and consistency to the appraisal review process. And we're really excited to be working with a partner like Reggora, who has similar goals on the sort of front end of the process to deliver that to our lender clients.
Great. All right. So Reggora has been making an investment in our open API and in our API technology in general. Over the last couple of years, we've made a lot of investments in that area. And that has really enabled us to kind of have this integration with Clear Capital. I talked to a lot of lender partners, different stakeholders, and underwriting is obviously a critical part of the entire appraisal workflow. So we're really excited that those investments in the API that we've made over the last couple of years have really enabled us to have this integration that Ashley's going to talk a little bit more about here.
Yeah, we're really excited about this integration. Basically, no more manually moving of things like review forms or loan data between one system and another. The API between Reggora and Clear Capital will do all of that for you. We'll be delivering things like automated review and risk scoring, access to MLS and public record data, customized review forms based on your organization's specific needs, and some pretty cool photo AI and machine learning tools as well, all integrated within your Reggora ecosystem.
Cool. Awesome. All right, so we are going to move on to the live demo portion. So give me a second here as I get out of the slide deck and move into the actual platform. Mike or Ashley, can I get a thumbs up real quick that you all can see the Reggora platform? Okay, great. All right, so as I mentioned before, most of you or many of you are familiar with the Reggora platform, but for those of you that are not, I just want to give you a quick overview of what we're seeing here. And then we're actually going to walk through creating an appraisal order so that you can see the steps that go into handing this off to CCR. So this is really kind of the homepage where most of our stakeholders, lender stakeholders, spend most of their time. This is called the orders page, and it looks similar to a pipeline that you're familiar with, probably with the LOS that you use. So if you are an appraisal desk, for example, this is where you spend your entire day, managing the appraisal operations. Ideally, every appraisal goes perfectly from start to finish, but we know that doesn't always happen. So you'll notice a couple of things on the left side here. Lenders can create custom filters, for example. Let's say internally that if an order hasn't been picked up by an appraiser within 2 days, like that's a red flag for you, and you will kind of want to jump in to manually handle that exception. Reggora provides a number of different filters that allow you to kind of laser in on those orders that need help from the appraisal desk. So as you can imagine, in this scenario here, there's thousands of appraisals in this if we're mimicking an appraisal desk. Now, if I'm kind of like an on the ground level loan officer or wholesale broker, I also interact with this same page, though, likely fewer permissions. You're not going to see kind of all these fancy settings and vendor management tools on the left side here, but roughly you still see this page you receive, which triggers a lot of the notifications. And it really allows you to stay on top of what's going on with your appraisal. We know in an ideal world, the LO or the broker wouldn't even have to think about an appraisal, but we know we get questions from borrowers, other stakeholders, and this really allows them to stay informed along with the notifications kind of that go along with all these status updates that you see here, and just keeping track of your orders as they move through the pipeline. So yeah, this is the home page here. Now I'm going to move into the loan files page next. Now, in reality, if we were hooked up to a real lender account, all these loan files would be pulled in through one of our integrations with, Encompass, for example, or if you have a custom LOS, you can use our open API to pull in your loan files automatically into Reggora. So we will automatically pull in, the loan file data, any documents, and continually update that throughout the process. So here you can see an appraisal order before it has actually been ordered. You can see some of the basic loan file information that we pulled in from the LOS. You can see some of the important points of contact, and you're going to click this green Create Order button here to select your product. So in this case, again, we're in a test account. We just have one product here. I'm going to select my appraisal product. It costs $10. We wish. We're going to click the Create button here, and the appraisal order will be created. Now, also as part of this demo, I'm just going to move my Zoom bar here. We are going to kind of act as the appraisal vendor in this case, just so that we can move this thing along to get to that submission process. So this appraisal order is about to get submitted in record time. But once I refresh here, we'll be able to see this appraisal order that has shown up in the appraisal vendor's queue. So give me a second here to load. I'm in a dev environment, so 1 second here. All right, here we go. So you can see here that this order for Holiday Road has come in. You can see that the appraiser has a certain amount of time to accept it. We're going to accept this appraisal order, and then we're going to very quickly set the inspection date. So let's say that the inspection date is going to happen today at noontime. We'll set the inspection. Like I said, record time here, we're going to mark the inspection complete. And finally, we're going to get to the important part here of uploading the actual report. So let me just choose a pre-selected XML file that we have here and upload the PDF. Invoice number. And we will send this over. So based on our integration at this point, what's happening is we are passing that XML and all the loan file data over to CCR so that the underwriter can now be notified that we're at this event and they can start doing their part of the job here now. So Ashley, I'm going to turn this back to you and you can show us the CCR perspective from here.
Excellent. Get my screen shared here. All right, everybody got my dashboard here? Perfect. Okay. So this is our review dashboard. This is just going to keep track of all of the current goings on within the review platform here, how many files have been submitted, how many have been approved, things like that. But I really want to focus on the tools that we provide to the reviewers and how we actually streamline the review process itself. So as a reviewer, when I log in, I'm going to see a list of files that have been assigned to me and be given access to grab other files that I am qualified to work on based on the settings that my manager has put together within the system here. So when Dan, the appraiser, submitted that appraisal XML, the integration sent that file over to us and we were doing a few things behind the scenes. We created what we call a case, which is where we keep all the information related to a specific loan. We are submitting to UCDP and EAD as necessary. We are running our internal set of quality rules. We are giving this file a review tier, which lets you all know who should be reviewing this file. And then we're giving it a review scope, which lets the reviewer know what kind of a review they should complete. Once that's all been done, which takes about a minute, nobody ever notices that it's happening, the file is ready for us to review. So I'm going to jump in and show you precisely what that looks like. So on every case, we bring in MLS photos where we can. We've got all of this case and loan information, which came from the LOS to Reggora directly to us. Nobody had to keep track of all that business as the file was progressing through these systems. We do have public record information as well. And then let's jump into sort of the exciting parts of this review. So rather than having to jump around and go to different systems to find all of the information and things you need to confirm the data that's found within the appraisal and so on, we've tried to bring it all into one place. We really want to consolidate this process and make it as smooth as possible for the reviewers. So we do provide access to the original appraisal PDF when necessary. We do also provide this quick view. We all know that a 50-page appraisal can be difficult to scan, especially in the cases of a low-risk file, something like this, where you have the subject characteristics, photos, map, and sketch from the appraisal is a really great way to just sort of scan all of that crucial information in easy-to-read format. When we do have a higher risk appraisal, maybe something that's a little trickier, you've got more questions about this particular appraisal, we give reviewers the ability to order a clear prop. This is great when you need historical property information, a comparable search function, or market trending data. We also have these clear collateral scores. Our goal here with these scores is to give reviewers a really quick and reliable way to understand, is this property significantly over or undervalued, and how much data did we have to come to that conclusion? So in this case, you can see our appraised value of 373 is well supported by our high and low value range of 337 to 387. This value confidence score lets us know that we had a lot of data to generate that range. It's pretty reliable. And then this valuation accuracy score here is a numeric representation of how well supported that value is. So you can use that score to drive volume to different levels of reviewers. So for example, if your if your valuation accuracy score is low, you may want to drive this to a more experienced reviewer, give them access to more of these review tools so they can do a little bit of a deep dive. We do also bring in the UCDP and EAD scores and the representation of warrant indicators here. We bring in the Fannie and Freddie findings as data. This way your reviewers do not have to go download submission summary reports to take a look at what the GSEs thought of this file and clear those findings as needed. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about the clear collateral rules as well. So all of these rules are configurable by you, the managers. You can turn these rules on and off. You can control the weights they hold when they fail, and you can control the threshold at which they will fail. You can do this by different things like investor or geographic location, or perhaps the loan purpose. So you've got a lot of control and flexibility over these rules and what you want to present to your reviewers throughout this process. And it will remain consistent. Nobody's guessing. This report quality score here on the left is driven by how many rules failed based on the rule set that you had running. So in that way, it's really transparent, it's super configurable. And we do this again so that you can drive workflow to different sets of reviewers or generate a different review scope for this particular appraisal. So this rule set, we've got about 95 standard appraisal rules. These are available for everybody going right out the gate. You can configure them after that. We do have about 20 what we call clear photo or photo AI rules. These at present will check to make sure that all the required photos are present within the appraisal, that all of the photos are properly labeled, and that the photos, sketch, and grid information are consistent within the report. We do this because we don't want these highly skilled reviewers and underwriters having to just go through and compare things in photos and grids and stuff. That is not a great use of their time. We want them focused on making sure that this value is well supported and the appraisal is well formed. We do also provide this nearby similar properties grid. This is a top 10 list of the closest and most similar properties that we found in MLS and public records. We chart these next to the comparables used within the appraisal. We do this so that reviewers can quickly see how those appraisal comparables stack up against everything else that was available in the market at the time the appraisal was completed. So then lastly, as part of the appraisal review process, we'll talk about these configurable review forms here. So these configurable review forms, we can create as many or as few as you need for your organization. Perhaps you've got a specific review checklist for manufactured homes or jumbo loans or FHA, something like that. We can create as many or as few as you need with as many or as few questions as you need. We can do radio buttons, checkboxes, text fields, whatever you need, dependent questions. Probably the coolest thing about these review forms is that if the answer to the question you're asking in the form is available within the appraisal XML or the loan information, we can actually pre-populate the answers to those questions and let your reviewers just answer those questions that they really need their reviewer expertise and thinking cap on for, and they're not just copying and pasting information. So as part of this review form here, I'm just going to put in some test notes. Oh, really quick, sorry, I got a little ahead of myself. If your reviewers find issues worth asking the appraiser or the AMC about, right here, they can send a revision request through this UI. They do not need to leave this interface. They do not need to go back to Reggora and push any buttons. They can build and send their revision request right from here. The integration will pick it up, send it back to Reggora, get it out to the provider. That takes seconds. The provider, when they're done, will re-upload the XML. The integration will then pick that up. We'll pull it in. We'll run all our rules, resubmit it to UCDP, all that jazz, and then we'll assign it right back to the original reviewer so they can complete their review. But in this case, we're assuming that did not happen. That was the sort of reviewer tool set and review process soup to nuts. I'm going to complete this review and kick it back to Dan.
All right, cool. Thank you. steal screen share back here. All right, so like Ashley mentioned, really the integration with CCR is seamless. So you'll see that previously when the appraisal vendor had submitted the order, we were in what's called an under review status, and that really signified that the appraisal XML had gone to CCR. And again, the underwriting team is kind of doing their thing. So now that the review has been approved and submitted, you'll see that Reggora automatically moves this appraisal order from an under review status to a submitted status. And again, actually, to take one step back, for those of you that are not familiar with the Reggora platform, previously we were showing you the orders pipeline, the orders page. This is what the inside of an individual appraisal order looks like. So you can see here again, those contact cards. We kind of saw this back when it was just a loan file. But if you scroll down, you'll see a timeline event of all the different things that happen on this order. And you also have the ability to kind of chat with the appraisal vendor. Again, whether that's an AMC or whether that's a appraiser, you can kind of chat back and forth through the individual order page. So I just want to set the stage here. I realize I jumped right into the status. So after what Ashley did, we've moved to this submitted status. And once that happens, we can go over here and you'll see this submissions tab appears. And this is where Reggora pulls in some of that same information that we saw previously in CCR. So if a CU score exists, we will scrape that from the PDF and we'll put it in here, either CU score, LCA score. And then those SSRs that Ashley mentioned, we will also pull those in from CCR. And we can map those SSRs back to the lender's LOS, which is super convenient. So the right people can have record of them and see them back in the LOS as needed. So the user can choose to download those if they desire here. Also, we have this new button for this integration called Download External Review Results. So this is sort of a summary of the review process that happened in CCR. So again, this is just a data point, a piece of documentation that someone outside of the underwriting team might want to reference at some point, and it is easily accessible within the submissions tab within the individual appraisal order. So as mentioned, thanks to this integration, you can access everything here in Reggora. Also, like Ashley mentioned, if there is a revision required, you'll see this order go straight from under review to revision requested. There's no need to hop back into Reggora, request that revision like you might do otherwise. It all happens through communication with the CCR tool. And then once submitted, it goes back to CCR and we kind of go through this process all over again. So that completes the actual tour of the integration. So we are going to move back to the slides here. Let me go back into slideshow mode. And once again, can I just get a thumbs up that this happened correctly from either Mike or Ashley? Perfect. Okay. So in summary, again, we've brought two partners together, both ClearCap and Reggora, who are dedicated to making the appraisal process better. And from the Reggora side of the house, we really like to focus on our ability to reduce the overall cost per loan. And that's through automation. That's through making sure that we have less leakage. Reggora has a lot of different payment options to help lenders avoid leakage, which our lenders find a lot of value in. And also, like I said, in these kind of challenging times, it really is important that the best LOs and wholesale brokers maintain a relationship with your lender. So we really try to provide that kind of spotlight on this appraisal process, where sometimes you have these LOs and brokers just pinging the appraisal desk like, hey, what's going on with my appraisal? And we really pride ourselves on keeping these stakeholders informed in this process so that they can continue to provide their borrower with the best experience and to close on time. And then finally, we like to focus here at Reggora on an improved borrower experience. Obviously, nothing matters more to the borrower than closing on time and actually just making sure that this loan makes it through. So Reggora's tools and automations help to do that, but we also help by automatically, for example, delivering the appraisal to the borrower, sending them that custom payment link, integrating some of that custom lender logo options with all of this borrower communication to really provide a more seamless appraisal experience for that borrower. Again, in an ideal world, they're not worried about the appraisal and this loan can just close on time and the borrower can move on their happy way. So Ashley, back to you.
Awesome. Yeah. So we're really excited to be working with Reggora, who has the same goals that we do of sort of making this whole process better, especially for the borrowers, speeding up this process. We're trying to do that by way of the appraisal review process, obviously, cutting that by about 50%. We do that by automating every process that we possibly can, eliminating manual tasks. We want to make the borrower's experience better. by making this, a more efficient, more cost-effective process, eliminating things like unnecessary revision requests. We know that those can add a lot of time to a process, and appraisers don't love them either. So eliminating that as much as possible, and really just making this a consistent, compliant, reliable review process for everybody.
Cool. All right, I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to move on to the Q&A section here. Mike, back to you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dan and Ashley. Really cool demonstration here. We've got some questions for you from the audience. And just a reminder to everyone in the audience, if you've got something on your mind, now is definitely the time to get that into our Q&A queue here at the bottom of the screen. All right, for first question, and I'll please both feel free to weigh in on these. I'll start this one with Ashley. With appraisal bias being an important topic, how can technology enable lenders to detect appraisal errors or undervaluation?
Yeah, we care deeply about this, and there's a few things that technology does right now today, and obviously we hope to get better and better at this. But consistency is key. We've got lots of reviewers at lots of different lender organizations who may have been doing their review process one way for a significant amount of time. Maybe these processes aren't standardized within an organization. And so without intent, we can see a lot of subjectivity within the review process. And so a system like Clear Collateral Review can really help to limit the amount of subjectivity in this process and make sure that the same things are being checked in the same way with the same thresholds and guidelines every single time. We also provide things like the valuation accuracy score, which based on all of the best data we have can give reviewers a pretty clear indication of whether or not a property is significantly undervalued, which is really important in making those kind of decisions.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ashley. All right, let's see. Next question here. So based on the feedback I received from the reviewers, analyzing and matching photos are the most tedious task in any appraisal. So what is Clear Capital doing in that space?
Yeah, so I think we kind of went over that with the Clear Photo AI stuff, but I think it's probably worth revisiting because it's pretty unique to Clear Capital. Our Clear Photo rule set, which is constantly being improved and added to right now today, can eliminate the need for underwriters, these highly skilled underwriters, to be hunting through a giant appraisal PDF and counting photos and comparing them to the grid and then comparing them again to the sketch. That is unnecessary manual work that our rules can do for the underwriters.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ashley. And Dan, can you speak to the implementation process of an appraisal management software such as Reggora?
Yeah, sure. So the implementation with, and I assume that's kind of aimed towards the CCDR implementation, it's a relatively smooth process. So we like to budget around 2 weeks for this implementation. And it really just involves some like technical maneuvering on our end to make sure that we hook up the APIs with ClearCap, which is pretty easy. And then we go through, a round of testing in a development environment before we push it live to production. So, and actually too, if you want to add some more about developing the rules and some of the actions that happen on your end too.
Yeah, so the implementation team at Reggora is just amazing. We love working with them. We've had the pleasure of doing that for the last few months now, and that relationship is wonderful. So anybody implementing the Reggora plus CCR sort of partnership has some really amazing support on both sides. So thank you to both of those teams for sure. So what it looks like for us, as Dan mentioned, a couple weeks for the technical stuff. While we're doing that, we have an interview with the lender to make sure that we get their rules set up properly, that we can set up their review tiers properly, that we set up their review scopes properly, get their review forms done. All of these things are things that we can do inside a couple weeks. So I know it sounds daunting, but we do have a great place to start with standard rule sets, standard tiers, standard review scopes, and standard review forms as well. So yeah, it's a lot of just getting to know each other, understanding what the needs of your organization are, and tweaking our baseline to make sure that it works for you all.
Fantastic, fantastic. All right, yeah, lots of good questions coming in from the audience. Thank you. Dan, Reggora connects with Clear Collateral Review with an API. What other API integrations do you offer?
Yeah, I mean, so kind of like I mentioned in the beginning, Reggora really has been investing in its open API over the last couple of years. We know that Encompass is, the leader for the LOSs out there, but there's a huge portion of the market that has a custom LOS, and really that our open API gives us the flexibility to work with literally almost any lender in the market to make sure that we can kind of standardize our procedures and our workflows to kind of just like link in with whatever that lender might have. So really the sky's the limit when it comes to fitting the Reggora workflows into a lender's LOS. And there's even some opportunities with point of sale systems. And, we've seen a lot of creativity with lenders who use that open API technology. And again, it's just really exciting when it comes to the flexibility that provides for our customers.
Gotcha. Very cool. All right, next question. Are the reviewers at CCR licensed or certified appraisers? And if not, what are their qualifications?
So that is a great question. I should clarify. Clear Capital is not actually providing the reviewers for these files. We are providing the technology, and the lender organizations are providing the collateral underwriters / reviewers. So nope, we are not licensed because we are not actually providing any reviewers. We are just providing the technology for your reviewers to do the review. So in that way, we see organizations do it different ways. Sometimes they'll have analysts who are not staff appraisers, but then we'll see collateral underwriters who are more senior, who are staff appraisers who are licensed or certified. So it really just varies depending on the organization.
Great clarification. And Ashley, let me ask you this. I maybe this is related, but is the Clear Capital review on top of the typical AMC QC review?
Yes, it is. So once the AMC submits that appraisal XML back to Reggora, that's when we take over. And so we know that, some lenders really rely on the AMCs to do a good job of reviewing those appraisals, which is fair, but there are a few things that every lender is still responsible for checking within the appraisal, based on Fannie and Freddie guidelines. So even if it needs to be an abbreviated review process that we can help these lenders sort of whiz through to just keep compliant and make sure they're, doing all the things they need to be doing, we can adjust that as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Good questions coming in. So on the underwriting review time, what was the feedback from the time savings? What part of the review saved the underwriters the most time when doing a full appraisal review?
That's a great question. And, quite honestly, the most time savings that we see is not necessarily in the looking through the appraisal, though we do save a significant amount of time by highlighting issues with the rules rather than just having you read the entire appraisal. These reviewers are really adept at reading appraisals. So one, we save time on the back end. We are finding issues up front so that nothing gets missed. We're making sure to call these things out. But then a big chunk of the time savings is actually in the integration itself, so that you're not having to go, create a review form, download it in a PDF format to your desktop, type in all your answers, save that, then upload it to Encompass and the like. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of having to go into other systems to download rule results from somewhere and then MLS information from somewhere else. So really the consolidation is where we see the most time savings. For managers, the ability to sort of pre-set up who can get what work and what that review should look like can save a lot of time as well. Nobody needs to be spending their time sitting at a desk assigning work out to the different reviewers as it comes in. The system handles all of that. So that's where we see, I think, the most time savings.
Very interesting. Thanks, Ashley. Let's see. Can final inspections and disaster inspections be ordered in the same way? And Dan, is that for you?
Yeah, so yes, I guess so. And for now, the only orders that can be ordered automatically from the CCR side of the house are those revisions. So for anything else, like a disaster report, for example, you would still go into the Reggora platform and you would order that product the same way that you would as a standard follow-up or as a separate product itself or a separate order.
Gotcha. Okay, good. And let's see here. Good, we still got a little bit of time. Is there a spatial test to measure the difference, that is added text or photos, between an original and a revised report?
Can you repeat that question for me, Mike?
Sure. Yeah. Is there a spatial test to measure the difference between an original and a revised report, if you're adding text or photos?
Got it. So right now at present, we don't compare one version of the appraisal to the next. We treat every submission like we understand when there is a revision, but we're not comparing it to the file that was uploaded before it. That's not to say that it's something that we don't have the technology to do, but frankly, the time savings there and sort of the issues that we've seen in the tools and technology available to compare one PDF or XML to another has not been great and hasn't proved itself to be super valuable. That's not to say we can't if we want to get tricky, but right now we don't. We tend to see more noise than benefit when we try to compare one submission to the next.
All right, understood. And here's a question. We might have covered this, but they're asking for clarification. So what's the typical turn time? Dan?
So I mean that's
what's
tough.
That's the I'm sorry, not more clear. Not more clear than that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously depends greatly whether we're talking Maine or we're talking, the Boston metro area. I will say from Reggora, we recently did a study with Stratmore, kind of comparing industry data with how existing Reggora customers performed in different areas of the appraisal, workflow. And we have found a 2-day reduction compared to industry averages. And on the Reggora side, that's really focused on the allocation efforts first. So Reggora's automation really enables our customers on average to see a 2-day shrinkage in the time it takes an actual appraisal vendor to pick up the order and start the actual appraisal. So that's right now where we see the savings. But Reggora continues to invest in other, like the entire workflow to continue to see savings throughout. But really for us, that allocation, the automation and the algorithms that we have to smartly allocate are really where we see the biggest difference maker when it comes to overall turn time for our customers compared to the market in general.
Gotcha. And someone's asking about costs. Is there anything, what are the costs? Anything we can share with them on that?
I would share, so I think each, and Ashley, you can back me up here. Every scenario and every customer is different. So we just encourage anyone on the line here to reach out to the sales team. I know there's contact information on this last slide here, and they can provide a more tailored quote or estimate based on your situation.
Fantastic.
I concur. Yeah. Talk to the sales crew.
Yeah.
All right. We're getting close. I think we've got time for one more question here. So does Clear Capital also provide CU score for appraisal reviewers? We have workflow based. Wait a minute a second. Does Clear Capital also provide CU score for appraisal reviewers? We have workflow based on CU score for our appraisal reviews.
Yes, absolutely. So for every file, as indicated by each organization, as they want to have these settings set up, we can submit every appraisal to CU. We get back the scores, we get back the findings, and we get back the submission summary reports. And our tools allow us to not only assign work based on the CU score if needed, but also adjust the review scope. So, you know, what tools are available, how in-depth a review your reviewer needs to do based on that CU score. So we're very well versed in that. System's totally equipped to handle it.
And same thing, and like we showed, it does also come into the Reggora side, and even existing today, that is a data point that we can map back to the lender's LOS, and then they can, you know, keep that for record keeping or use it for whatever automated LOS workflows they have as well.
All right, fantastic. That brings us just got exactly to our scheduled close, and I think that's an excellent note to end on. First of all, I want to thank Dan and Ashley both for being here and sharing the demo today. Really, and all of your insights, really interesting. I've learned a lot, and I hope everyone in the audience feels the same way. I really appreciate everyone being here today and asking all these great questions. And just a reminder that we will be sending you a follow-up email that'll have a link to the recording of this event, so you can kind of dig back into this content at your leisure in the future. We encourage you to do that. And with that, I think I will officially wrap it up. Wish everyone a wonderful rest of the day, and I hope you'll join us again soon. Thanks very much.
Thanks. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.